Everybody, welcome back to the IGN Movies Podcast. Keeping it real. Jim, Roth, and Carl, all here to bring you the latest in genre movie news and rumors.
Lots of it this week.
Lots of it. Let's dive right in. Big day today. Star Wars announcement. Rogue One is the first standalone Star Wars movie coming out December 16th, 2016.
Rogue One.
Rogue One, and that's the Gareth Edwards directed film. He did Godzilla. I want to ask you, Chris, because Roth and I did a whole conversation about
talked about it already.
Speculating on what that title means. What do you think Rogue One means?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tied up in probably the formation of the original Rogue Squadron. The rumors were always, and we talked, you guys talked about this, the rumors were that it was going to be about the group of people who brought the Death Star plans, right? Like that was the big rumor. They don't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive, but I think no matter what, that Rogue One is a big tip-off that, hey, this is about a squadron. Jim, you said something about like the Top Gun of X-Wing
like
pilots.
Top Gun in space.
Maybe scrappier than that even. Maybe you're like not even established. Like you're going to see the true beginnings of like an army come together. Yeah, exactly. Like a real rebel army come together. And I think that is a cool piece for people to see because you kind of see, in Star Wars Episode 4, it's like in media res, everything's happening, the alliance is formed, all that stuff. And so, we're going to see the beginning of it, I hope.
How does it come together? Yeah, and it kind of leads in from Rebels. That's on the air right now, Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, so I'm excited about it. I really like that title. I think it shows a good direction, It's not like super serialized like some of the other ones. Yeah. Even The Force Awakens is kind of a serial title. This is kind of a different thing.
Does it feel, we are assuming it's going to be Star Wars :
Yeah, no, actually I've heard conflicting things already on it.
I've actually just been going back and forth with publicists, and they, for some reason, they won't answer my question and just send me a link to the press release where it actually never says Star Wars : Rogue
Yeah,
One.
it just says Rogue
One. Yeah.
Here's
my take.
That's not going to last.
I think they're going to keep Star Wars off of the titles of those movies.
No, why?
I just think they will. I think to
preserve Star Wars to the episodes?
Yeah, Star Wars will be the title of the episodes, and then you'll just know that this is in the Star Wars world. Of course, next week they'll come out and say that it's completely different than that. But
I don't know. Think of that would be pretty interesting because think of like Marvel's branding. Everything is Marvel's blank, blank, blank. Marvel's Daredevil.
We've joked that if you go to the Marvel building, it probably says Marvel's men's room.
Yeah.
Marvel's
cafeteria.
Marvel's Marvel building.
Marvel's.
And you are Marvel's. You know what I mean?
I feel like I might.
I
feel like at some point I will have given them enough of my money that they might own me.
Own a piece of you.
That's the opposite of how it used to work.
Bring it back to Rogue One though, because Felicity Jones was also officially announced as starring in it. And Roth and I also speculated on what the nature of her character could be. We'll give you a little bit of it here. Like, I was wondering, could she be like young Mon Mothma? Mm-hmm. I would assume she's probably, though, going to be a fighter pilot of some kind. Roth, and you were thinking she could be a certain character from the Star Wars small screen.
Well, I was thinking it was a couple of different options. There's certainly a fan base that wants to see Ahsoka, and I do too, but I don't think she's necessarily that. I think that maybe she is, we talked about how it could tie in to the idea of the bounty hunters. Maybe she's a bounty hunter, that becomes a part of the Alliance. That's what my guess is at the moment.
Do we know what era this particular movie is set in? Like that hasn't really been revealed yet.
Because it's also though like to say it's Rogue One, we're assuming it's at the start or something. Mm-hmm. What if it's about Oscar Isaac's squadron from Force Awakens? We don't know. But I think it probably is like what you guys are assuming, that it's the beginning.
Rule out the possibility that it's Luke, right? Luke that's been his call sign. I don't think it's that, right?
Well, Wedge, I think, wasn't he Rogue One too?
But then Luke briefly was also. And then, it depends too on what you're looking at. We made a joke about like, you could have it be in that era if it's like, well, you just missed Luke. He was right here.
Luke's in the bathroom, and he's going to be there for the next 3
days. He said he's going to some swamp planet to meet a little lizard man.
We got a message from Luke, and then intermittent kind of like performance capture where they age him down like they did with Arnold.
No, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
But I don't think it's going to be
No, it won't be. And I really think for these standalone ones especially, era is not going to be an issue. I'm hoping at some point they'll do like a standalone movie that's like Knights of the Old Republic. That's just me. I think they could actually start a whole other franchise based on some of those things. But I mean, I think we'll probably get through what's left of the Skywalker arc before they go to that well.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to point out about this, though, is that and this was something I didn't know about the story until the press release, which is John Knoll, who's the ILM. I think he's the CCO over there. But it's based on a story idea by him, and he's the guy who's done a lot of the kind of X-Wing and TIE Fighter and sort of the ship effects in Star Wars. So clearly this guy loves the whole dogfighting stuff. So could we actually just be getting like sort of basically the sort of movie that inspired those fights to begin with in the old movies like Dam Busters and stuff like that inspired, the almost at the Kessel's run, the Death Star run, and
it's actually really funny to me to think about like how George Lucas is completely off this project now. But that idea is such a George Lucas idea because he was really into like he was trying to make Red Tails forever, which is basically about airmen, and that's kind of the impetus for the Rebel pilots in Star Wars. It's kind of
Red
crazy.
Leader, Red Tails.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of funny that like he goes away and then this, ostensibly this is about a bunch of X-Wing fighter pilots.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the way that it would definitely be like Top Gun is that there's going to be a lot of fights. A lot of space fights and dog fights in space, and
I mean that right there. I'm signing up for that period.
That was one of the funnest parts
awesome.
of Battlestar was when you got those kind of like space dog fights.
That space scene in Jedi, I actually think, like when they're, when they're trying to open the gates in Endor and the battle's going on, they're getting their butts kicked, really. But some of the stuff in that scene, in those scenes, was like some of my favorite space combat in any movie ever. And if they can bring that kind of energy to a movie like this, I'm so on board. Yeah. Sign me up. I'm already on board, but I'm more on board.
Some more Star Wars news actually this week. Prequel books, 20 tie-in books that will explain the story between the end of Return of the Jedi and the beginning of Force Awakens will be released in the lead up to The Force Awakens.
You got to get your read on.
I mean, 20.
Yeah, read 20 books.
Some of them are sticker books, though.
But you know what? Those books will read fast.
Yeah.
So.
Imagine if they're like Tolstoy-esque poems of like.
Will you guys read every one?
Yeah.
We probably have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm thinking like from a perspective, I am one of the people, I'll totally fully admit it, I've never picked up an expanded universe book, because I just never felt like it was real. Like,
but this is real.
Exactly. That's what my next point was going to be, I'm going to pick these books up, and then I'm going to go like this, and then I'm going to get them in my head, and then I'm going to think of all the things, and I'm going to tell you people here.
That's how Chris reads.
That's exactly what's going to happen. All those things.
He won't read the words, he'll just look at the pictures and make the story up in his mind.
I just did a whole demonstration of how I'm going to do this. That's how I read books, guys.
Well,
like an idiot.
Episode 8 was also part of the press release today, and that was confirmed as opening May 26th, 2017, which will be 40 years and a day after Episode 4, the very first Star Wars movie, opened.
That's
Rian Johnson, of course,
Love it.
directing it and everything.
Love him.
He must be pretty stoked, You get the 40th anniversary movie, basically.
Weren't we thinking that he was going to do the second standalone film, or what? Am I just confused on that?
No, he was always for Episode 8.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm stoked on him. I think he's great. I think he's going to bring a lot to this. We keep saying this. I know it's like seems like gushing, but I think they're just making a lot of smart choices in terms of how they're doing these films and. It's like really close together, guys.
Yeah.
It's gonna come. One of them's gonna come out in December, and then one in May. It's gonna feel like Marvel.
That's insane too. I mean, think about, it's coming out in May. It's March of 2015. So they got to get a move on that. I do wonder if it was mostly a dogfighting movie. Couldn't you actually film that relatively quickly if it's all basically green screen and you're just sitting in the little prop X-Wing pretending?
But effects take a long time.
That's a lot of
Well, yeah.
effects, yeah, actually.
But that's what I'm thinking. Like it'll be a short shoot, but a huge post-production.
Post-production schedule,
Yeah.
yeah, potentially. Which there's no way you can answer this, but I'm forced out of you anyway. Which are you more excited about at this point? Rian Johnson at episode 8, or Gareth Edwards,
or this one? I mean, in terms of talent, they all bring a different wrinkle to the mix. I'm really curious about the standalone movies. I mean, it's something that we've been talking about for this, but also for superhero movies for a long time. And I think I really want that concept to work and pay off, because I think there's a lot to be mined there. And I really want I want the standalone movies to get wackier and wackier.
Yeah.
Like, I really want there to be some esoteric stuff in there and some different genres explored. And I think if they can prove that to be successful, then they're going to take risks. You know, Guardians was a risk, and Ant-Man is somewhat of a risk. And, you know, you start seeing like the way that they're building out on the Marvel side with Inhumans and stuff like that. Properties that I don't think any of us in this room ever thought were going to see the light of day, ever. And that's what I want to happen for Star Wars as well.
Well, we did starting about a year ago.
But also be good. You know, like they all have to be good.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for Force Awakens, but by the same token, I feel like it is still tied to that larger saga that we have had decades of spending time with.
Yeah.
So the fact that it could be exactly the fact that it could have something little divorced from that. It doesn't. I mean, the fact that it's called Rogue One again, like we do think like maybe it goes back to that beginning of that story. But for the most part, if it could just be all new characters, that would be completely fine by me.
I'm kind of stoked that it's not Boba Fett, to be honest.
Well, we don't know that Boba Fett's not going to be in it at all.
Yeah.
My guess is that Boba Fett will actually, if there's a bounty hunter element to it, that Boba Fett will be there, but as an ancillary character, not a focused on character.
But a big rumor was that this could be the one
The
that
Boba
is
Fett.
the Boba
the
Fett.
bounty hunters
But
movie.
I think that they really, my guess is that it was decided that was maybe not the best idea, you know, and that maybe you pepper Boba Fett, it's peppered with Boba Fett, but not totally focused on Boba Fett.
You just said Boba Pet, which would be an awesome line of little costumes
for
dogs and cats.
Boba Pet.
Boba Pet. You heard it here first.
No, don't take the idea. Stop talking. We're gonna patent this.
All right, I'm gonna
I don't
patent
think
it.
that's
Don't take my
actually
idea.
technically legal. I love Rian Johnson so much. Like I've loved him. I love all of his three films. And
I love every one.
Every one of his three films, but The Brothers Bloom, which a lot of people haven't seen, I think is great. And then I love Looper so much, so I'm super excited to see what he does. This is a big leap up for him, but there is something about the movie that I'm making up in my mind with this spin-off that seems amazing.
Yeah.
Let's move on from Star Wars, but we want to hear what you guys think about what you've heard about Rogue One, what you so far have heard about Episode 8, the prequel books, everything. Let us know in the comments below all your thoughts on Star Wars. Let's move into let's talk about Ghostbusters actually, because there was some news this week that the Russo brothers are developing and quite probably directing a more male-oriented Ghostbusters movie. It's not replacing the Paul Feig Ghostbusters movie. That is still happening. In fact, Sony wants to build a expanded Ghostbusters universe, and that the potential Russo brothers and Channing Tatum movie, and even Chris Pratt's name has been thrown in there too, and I think that even goes back to the Sony hack of him mentioning in an email that we should work together, blah blah blah. But they want to build an expanded Ghostbusters universe with Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd kind of leading the charge on that, and they want to get it into TV and other franchises, merchandising, all that stuff. So what do you think about, is Ghostbusters strong enough to really anchor this sort of expanded universe? Let's face it, it had one good movie and a TV series that I think only a certain segment, like maybe one generation, is familiar with.
Yeah.
And I like the video game didn't really sell.
The video game was okay. I mean, it was I think the video game could have been better, like if it were a little easier to control. It was a little bit wonky on control, but that's just my opinion. Anybody can have their own opinion on that. I don't know. I think It depends, you know? It depends on the quality of this one, and I really, really trust the Russo brothers. I think they are good. I think Channing Tatum is good, and if Pratt is involved, it's good. They might be too much for one movie, both of those guys.
What if Pratt's playing the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
It's the rise of
Stay Puft.
It's
literally rises out of the
story.
door.
I don't know. I mean, I don't hate it. I need to see it. Like, I don't, like, I'm not dismissing it out of hand, but I think, you know, I think Kyle, one of our video producers here, was talking about how, you know, Ghostbusters might make sense as a franchise that's franchised all over the United States. Or maybe, you know, there were rumors that it might be a government agency.
I think it's beyond rumor at that point. It's basically, it almost sounds like a replacement Men in Black in a way, you know?
That they're kind of like, they're now not this rogue team, but they're official. But I mean, the thing is, there has to be some kind of like inciting incident, like there has to be a portal opened or something, that another portal, you know, something that's pouring in these supernatural entities and making them a big problem on a consistent basis. There has to be some kind of like story around that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the reason for the Avengers, right? Like, it's like, get these people together to solve this thing. So, because I agree with you. I don't think it's just like, oh, you know, you just don't know about this. It's not, it's happening in the world.
I mean, part of the charm of the first movie was that it was a public thing. Who you gonna call? It was a commercial. You know, they became celebrities. Remember, they, you know, danced the night away at Club 54 or whatever it was that happened in the movie again. It was just like that. If you're taking it to like this different place now, where it's going to be like there's special ops people or whatever, I'm like, I don't really like that. To me, and also, and I think it was our video producer Kyle mentioned as well, like they're all too good looking. Like the original Ghostbusters were kind of schlubby guys, and they were like plumbers, and you know, almost had, even though they were professors, there was something kind of blue collar about them.
But I think that one of the things that we're all having trouble doing, and it's understandable because that's the reason that we love the movie, is because we love the chemistry between those guys, and it was a fun story and a kind of a wacky. I mean, it was an unusual idea, But we have to divorce ourselves a little bit. We're not going to get a repeat of that. I mean, they're not going to be able to recapture that lightning in a bottle.
They couldn't even do it with themselves in the second movie.
Right, but that, I mean, it was lightning in a bottle, and you're not. So I think, like, which one is the Venkman is a bad way to think about it, because you're just going to get disappointment.
It's a bad way to think about the female Ghostbusters movie too.
Yeah.
Like, don't think about that in those terms either. I think what it is for Sony, not to be cynical, is it's convenient. They own it. They can make it into a bigger franchise, and they're going to make it into a bigger franchise because they can. Now, do they have the right people involved? I think they do. I think there's a lot of really talented people trying to put this thing together. And also Aykroyd gets kind of his dream of getting to, you know, shepherd this whole thing through, and you know, like maybe
it's a reason to keep living.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we're the ones who are gonna come across looking like, hey, Dan, give it up, because like he has not given it up, and now he's like still intimately involved with it, and it's like, if it turns out to be great, then we're all gonna be like, oh, awesome, thanks for sticking with it.
I hope it's great. I really do. I mean, but I love that original movie just as much as the next guy, you know, and it is like there's a part of you that wants that thing again, but the problem with thinking that way is we're not going to get it. Like, at all.
I think also, though, you open the door to invitation by, who says the Ghostbusters just have to be 4 people? The fact that you cast 4 people, we have 4 leads, well, that's like the original, although the original, for the most part, was the 3 main guys, and then Winston came along later in the movie. But by the sequel, it was the 4 guys, and on the cartoon, it was the 4 guys. It's like, why are we married to the number 4? Why can't it be 3? Why can't it be 6 of them? Like, you know, maybe we psychologically divorce ourselves from comparing it to that if you expanded the roster or changed the number. It's like the fact that they had cast the 4 main actresses, like already you're playing plug and play, trying to figure out who's supposed to be who.
Yeah.
We don't know. We just know they're involved, so we don't actually know which of them are Ghostbusters.
Yeah, they might not all be Ghostbusters.
Well, no, because Paul Feig, when he tweeted it out, he had their 4 pictures and something like, here are your new Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay.
So I think you know, and Cecily Strong is supposed to play basically like the the government agent.
The
they're
liaison.
they're Coulson, basically.
Yeah.
Somebody made this awesome comment on Twitter, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name, or maybe it was in the comments. Said something about like, wouldn't it be awesome if they just put Channing Tatum in as the secretary? I'm like,
that would be great.
Yes, that would be amazing.
That
just put
would
him
be
in as
awesome.
the secretary
Actually,
in
yeah.
the Feig movie.
He's the
He's the Janine.
He's the
Janine.
Janine.
That'd be awesome.
Sorry about the bug guys calling.
And maybe he just has the same accent too.
Yeah.
You
Ghostbusters.
do that really
And
well.
Chris,
Why?
Chris Pratt is the Rick Moranis.
Exactly.
It'd be great.
Oh man, Rick Moranis is so good in that movie.
He was
He's
such
so
an
good.
important part of it, and then never again. Like he doesn't want anything to do.
Dude, the
He doesn't want anything to
the
do
party
with
at
any
his
of that
house
stuff. Yeah.
where he's like showing his clients.
Yeah.
It's such just comedic genius. It's like little tiny details like that make that movie so
Giving
good.
away all their
and that's-
business details to
Yeah.
introduce them, you know.
But that's the
good.
thing
He's
is
got
like
a small
how is,
carpet cleaning company in receivership.
how is this movie going to be filled out? Like it can't
Yeah.
just be people busting ghosts. You know, there's
Well, you
got to
know,
be the people that need the Ghostbuster.
But
Yeah.
busting does make
The
them feel
Sigourney
good,
Weaver.
so maybe they will. I don't know. That's what happens.
Well, again, let's hear what you think about Ghostbusters. Tell us in the comments. Again, this isn't replacing the Paul Feig version. This is a separate movie that'll come out conceivably the year after the Feig one, the reboot comes out next summer. So this would hopefully follow the summer after. And the guy writing it is Drew Pearce, who we've met. He was the writer on Iron Man 3.
Which
So he's
we
scripting
know
it.
people have feelings about.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
we all loved it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I love the team that's doing this. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I
I
think
think Knockwood,
It's such a great roster of talent, especially like I adore Chris Pratt. I can't help it. Don't
Yeah.
you judge me.
I want to hug him.
I
so bad.
I do want to hug him. I feel like that would be a life-changing hug.
Sandwich maybe.
You know what I mean?
I'll take the front. I guess.
let us know what you think
Why
about
do you
Pratt
get the front?
sandwiches in the comments below. Let's move on to some general sequel talk because there's a lot of sequel news this week.
A lot.
Let's start with one of the big ones. Frozen 2 officially announced today, right on the heels of the Star Wars stuff. There was a Disney shareholders call. A lot of big news comes out of these things. So we have to start thinking like business people now, like we have stock in this company or something. We don't. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for you. I don't know about money bags.
I don't know.
No.
Stop.
Money bags. I drive a Civic. Okay.
No, you actually put in your monocle when the camera goes off.
Scrooge
Like
McHonda.
Yeah, exactly. My
Scrooge
Honda
McHonda.
speaks volumes.
But Frozen 2 officially announced. That's all we know. We don't know what the plot line will be. However, Frozen Fever does open this weekend attached to Cinderella. And we're going to talk about Cinderella a little later on because there's some general Disney chit-chat we'd like to have. And we join you folks to join in on it.
Oh, we will.
But some other news,
mouse.
Toy Story 4, it's going to be a romantic comedy.
What?
Yeah, it's going to be less about kids and toys and really more about a romantic comedy between, about the toys.
It would be really awesome if it was just a straight up romantic comedy and the toys were
And the
just
toys
sitting
were
around.
around.
Like,
Or if the
like,
toys-
Why do
is
they
this
make them
movie?
out? This
But
is
if the toys became like weird little toy cupids and were like ushering along the romance.
This
It
is
could-
why we
it
don't
could
make
happen.
Pixar
Like if
movies, by the way.
this is good.
we would be the
okay.
ones fired off of it
kids-
halfway through and
the
then
kids grow
bitterly
up.
posting.
The kids grow up and they want to see to their happiness for the rest of their life too, and so they're behind the scenes ushering.
You know,
along the
toys
romance.
don't age. What if
That's
this
a good
jumps
idea.
ahead decades and we see Andy in his old folks' home, and
But they don't age.
That's depressing.
No,
So you
the
just
the
took
toys
it.
don't age.
The toys
That's
don't
what I'm
age, but
saying.
Andy's
Oh.
all old and dying.
Oh, Andy.
Yeah, the boy.
You just wait.
I went there. Hey, look, they did it at the opening of Up. You saw them grow old
Yeah.
and all that.
Horrible.
Yeah.
What if the opening of Up was like in the Toy Story universe? What? Incepted.
Wrong. So Toy Story 4 is happening. That's what we're saying.
Well, that's cool. I
mean,
mean, I liked all the Toy Story movies. They'll probably make a good fourth one.
They've been able to go to some places that you wouldn't think that you could with Toy Story movies. You know, I just say I don't want to spoil.
That sounds
anything.
like 50 Shades kind of inference there. They're
They're not going to
went
whips
there.
and chains and spanking.
They didn't take your trip to the
That's
zoo,
a
Jim.
romantic
That's a whole
comedy.
different romantic comedy. No, but I mean, I'm thinking about like there were some dark places gone to with
Especially
the bear.
in the third one.
Yeah, in the third one.
Lots of hugging.
Yeah.
Lots of.
That was more like lots of hating.
Yeah.
That's true.
He was like full of bitterness and rage, that little
Well,
bear.
that's what happens. Actually, there's a lot of bitterness and rage in the second one too, if you remember.
There was.
Isn't that Kelsey
Toy Story
Grammer's
owner.
character,
Yeah.
right?
So this might actually be the most lighthearted Toy Story movies. I think
be.
we're
Maybe, yeah,
saying.
maybe they realized how the bleak morality of the Toy Story movies. They're like Bergman. They had no idea. Let's see. Zoolander 2
What?
is happening. There's even video of Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller vamping up on like a fashion show that was recorded this week. I don't know. I don't
Valentino
really
show
feel
happening?
like I need a Zoolander 2. I know. I feel like it's one of those things people were asking for years, like Dumb and Dumber 2, Anchorman 2.
And then they
Yeah.
got it.
And they got it, and it wasn't all that good. So, like,
I feel like you're onto a good point there, potentially, that it's
comedy
comedies.
sequels generally aren't
It's
good.
comedies
Especially
that are bad, especially
Yeah.
with that much distance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's like people get so attached to these things, and they're doing whatever they're doing. They're hanging out. They got the munchies, and they're like, "Wouldn't it be great to have a second one?"
You're telling us about your movie habits a little too much. They got the munchies, I don't know. Their eyes are all dilated.
Like, oh man, that just
Kinda
ended. It was
bloodshot.
I loved it so
There was
much.
a gun on the table, and somebody said, "Hey, let's make a movie."
There's a bunch of cash everywhere.
Exactly.
Good
You're getting
stuff.
patted down for if you're wearing a
But
wire.
it's actually not that good idea. Do you want to see
Yeah.
the dude return? No, you just want to watch the dude for the 2 millionth
I've been watching the dude return in like the last 5 Jeff Bridges movies, and I love Jeff Bridges, but like even he's been doing the dude shtick a little too long. Like that's my opinion, but like I feel like Zoolander 2 is I don't feel like it's a necessary movie.
There was something about how weird Anchorman got at a certain point
Anchorman 2, or-
Anchorman 2
Yeah.
that I kind of do appreciate though, because it goes to the most psychotic acid trip, like all of the drugs place.
I loved Anchorman. Anchorman 2 was such a shell of original Anchorman for me that I was like, man, I'd still laughed in a few places, but it was just, a lot of time I was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
It seemed like a parody of Anchorman.
Yeah.
It was because
Yeah.
it followed, and then like that fight, right? Where
Yeah.
but the moment that I did, can I say something that's a spoiler?
Yeah,
I
the
guess?
thing's been
Yeah.
out for
Okay,
over a year.
like the moment when it's like
gonna spoil
the
it now,
ghost of
everyone.
Stonewall Jackson for absolute like no reason. Why
Yeah,
is
that
the
is
ghost
pretty
of
funny. I can give him that.
like,
Oh, the History Channel?
Yes, on the History Channel, and they bring out the ghost of Stonewall
That was pretty good, actually.
That moment, I was like, I don't know, the whole movie was kind of worth it for that, that moment.
That one moment.
But it's
Well,
kind
Was
of a
that John
mess.
C. Reilly, right?
Is the problem? Yeah, it's a problem with comedy sequels in that they have to try to tell their
The
same
same
jokes
story,
so that
yeah.
they're gonna. It's gonna be a wink to the audience. I'm like, scrap those jokes. Don't come back.
What
to them.
comedy sequels have actually worked? The Hangover sequels didn't work.
No.
The Brady Bunch movie 2 was pretty good.
But again, though, they're
well,
almost they're going off of something that was a serialized thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that Jump Street, that 22 Jump Street,
Yeah.
for me, did a
Yep.
really good job of getting, because it's such a meta
Yeah.
franchise, that it was able to talk about the fact that it was going to repeat the same movie,
Yeah.
and they made that the joke, know? And the problem
But
is,
they
is
overmade that the joke for me.
I don't
liked it, but
know.
I thought it was like not.
that wasn't as good for you.
Yeah, I mean, it still was like too much.
I
Like
thought that they made the best joke about that joke at the very end with the code
right,
of all
exactly,
the sequels.
Yeah.
exactly.
But it was, I appreciated and enjoyed a hell of a lot of that movie.
Me
And I
too.
do think it's a good comedy
Yeah.
sequel. It's one of the few I can actually think of. Like, nobody really liked Caddyshack 2, right?
Oh God,
Yeah.
no. That's
Or even
Oh,
like,
sorry.
no worries. Just like I can't really think of.
In a franchise like
Airplane 2, I kind of like.
Vacation, European
Oh,
Vacation,
yeah.
and Christmas Vacation, all pretty good.
Yeah.
Can I say the Ernest movies?
You can say.
Say it.
A couple of
You
them.
can say whatever you want, Chris.
Like I did not even like Ernest Goes to Camp, but I think it was the Ernest Saves Christmas I kind of
Yeah.
liked.
I mean, to me, it's
Sorry.
very,
That's my butter.
Saved by the
Saved
Bell.
by
I needed to use it just to get out of an uncomfortable
I
situation.
love that we have the bell back too
Saved
now.
by the butter. That's going to be the butter.
Long-time podcast listeners will know that the bell has a special place in our podcast. It used to be there for very blue humor and swear words, one of which we really can't engage in
anymore. We'd be ringing
anymore.
it the whole time.
Oh yeah, it was like being on a trolley at a certain point, you know. Other sequels, Captain America: Civil War. God, I can't wait for that movie.
Yeah,
but now we just found out over the weekend that Jeremy Renner is going to be in it as Hawkeye. In a small role, he's squeezing it in before he films this other picture. Old-timey, see? I'm making a picture with Jack Warner. But Hawkeye's going to be in there. How many more characters do you think they can kind of squeeze into it? I know it's called Civil War, but something tells me that it really is just more about these two guys who are opposing viewpoints at loggerheads rather than, I really think everyone else, even Black Panther, will kind of be on the periphery.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're going to have a whole bunch of cast members who show up to do one thing or appear on a telecom or something, you know, and they don't have much else to do. But you want to keep the idea of that universe alive, and why not?
Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, in order to have a civil war, you need to have combatants on either side.
Right.
And so ultimately, I think the focus, and I hope the focus is on these two men, because that's a more interesting story. And
basically two brother against brother.
Brother against brother, competing ideologies. Like, that's a great classic
do you think there's
story.
going to be daddy issues in there, though? Because basically Cap is Howard Stark's generation.
Oh.
Even though Howard Stark himself was a rogue, as we saw in I kind of feel like it was slow to get there for me, but Agent Carter I thought was a really good show and kind of showed you a lot about the Marvel Universe in that time. But do you think that, you know, I don't know, I've lost my train of thought now all of a sudden.
So as if Cap would almost be representing his father's generation versus, I don't think so really, because Cap, even with Howard, was very different than Howard. You know, like he's just always been a different kind of figure. So I don't think so, but I do think it will be about these two dudes, but they're going to have people on their side, so other characters are going to have to show up and choose a side.
Do you think Hawkeye's going to be on Cap's side or Tony's side? Something tells me he'll stick with Cap.
I think he'll stay with Cap.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you can already see what's happening with Tony in the trailers.
This a game.
Ooh. Whose side are you
on? Civil War. Pick a character.
I don't have a side. I'm on the side of the person who wants to watch the movie. And
I'm on Cap's side. How do you mean you're not on a side?
He's on Hydra's side.
I can pick a side.
Yeah.
But you have to.
Hail
you have
Hydra.
to. If we take a character, you have to guess which side they would be on. So who's Hawkeye?
I think Hawkeye's on Cap's side.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The right side.
Now I forget what point I was even making.
I think.
It's my butter.
It's your butter.
Whose butter is
Whose butter is
next
this?
on IGN? IGN margarine.
Yeah, you can start to see like what Tony's perspective is already in the Avengers trailers. Like he's like, hey, we've got too much power.
Yeah.
So who do you think would be on Tony's side then? I mean, if Tony is being kind of, we know Black Widow and Hawkeye are on his side, so he's already got two Avengers. Do you think Thor's on Tony's side?
Oh, you think Hawkeye's on Tony's side?
I mean, I'm sorry. I think Hawkeye is on Cap's side and Black Widow's on Cap's side. Nick Fury probably on, I don't know. It'd be tough to tell because on one hand, he was with Cap when it came to bringing down S.H.I.E.L.D., but his whole mantra has been like, there are dangers out there, we have to do something. So something tells me Nick would probably side with Tony.
Yeah.
Because they have that kind of like,
it's going to be interesting.
Shadow ops kind of thing that they do.
I always feel like for certain people to be on Tony's side, it's a total betrayal. You know, I mean, obviously that's the crux of the story, but it's just it's a weird.
Think about Banner. Like if Banner's on Tony's side, you are the threat, man. You're that. All you got to do is flip a switch and you become the rage monster.
I don't think.
But that's maybe why he would be. You know, to say, like, I know that I'm too dangerous to be contained and I don't really want to hurt people, so we need a better system here where we can be monitored. Maybe that's why he would be on his side.
I hope Thor's just like, F all y'all.
Yeah,
I'm going back.
Asgard.
I'm personally hoping that Banner's not even around by the end of Avengers 2. I hope he's
you think he's going to get whacked?
elsewhere.
Oh.
I'm not saying like, That's my hope, that's because they're starting to do all this space stuff and space is all getting set up, and I'm like, man, Hulk in space, let's get there.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would be fun.
Feige has vehemently denied that, I think, a few times.
Well, no. He denied Planet Hulk. He did not deny that Hulk would be in space for some other reason.
Well, I mean, Planet Hulk is what I was saying. So
obviously
he's
why
actually
he would
said
be in-
no.
Well, he said that they're not doing Planet Hulk when I interviewed him. I mean, I asked him really directly when I interviewed him at the Guardians of the Galaxy junket. I asked about Planet Hulk, and he was like, "Yeah, we don't. The interesting part of that character is the dichotomy. It's like." I'm paraphrasing here. This is my way of saying it, but basically, it's doing like Jekyll and Hyde with only the monstrous half, and they don't know how to make that interesting. So he said no, but maybe they have since found a way to make that interesting.
But also, wouldn't Infinity War? I mean, they're going to end up in space, right? If you're fighting Thanos, I mean, Hulk's going to end up in space at some point, right?
I feel like Hulk is going to be in space. Let's take bets.
I think he will be because I think he's going to be called upon for Infinity War because you're going to need a guy like him to fight that fight. But I think at the end of Avengers, something will be happening with Banner. That's my guess.
Yeah, that's my guess too.
I don't think you can see. I don't think that Hulkbuster thing's not going to have a kind of moral or narrative payoff that won't have repercussions.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like, a lot of people have speculated this, and I agree with it, that he's being controlled by Scarlet Witch at the point of that fight.
Yeah.
And we don't know where that fight is within the movie.
But doesn't that speak to Tony's thing that there are things out there you can't control? I mean.
Yeah, and it might be just like, hey, I'm too powerful to get controlled by this evil being. Or whatever.
Well, that's where it's somebody like, I don't know, Doctor Strange could come in and be like, I can keep that crap at bay. I'm Benedict Cumberbatch, and that's my butter. The butter batch.
This has gone to a real weird place now.
No, it's gone to such an amazing place. That is his butter.
The butter batch.
I will conjure butter. I don't know, now I'm channeling Tom Hardy in there too, and McKellen.
Yeah, I think he's definitely controlled by Scarlet Witch in that moment. And I think that would freak anybody out because he's already scared of the Hulk. I mean, he's scared of that side of him.
But yeah, I agree. If he's not in space, he is definitely going to be on the Tony side because, control me. I need it, I think, at this point. Like, it's too powerful.
Do you think Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, are they a one-movie only kind of deal, or are we going to see them stick around in the Avengers?
I don't think so, because I think they're going to have to change sides, and I think they're going to have to actually be Avengers, and I think they have to start kicking some Avengers out.
Yeah,
like, there's going to need to be a replacement Avengers.
Do you think they'd be on Tony's side because they've been controlled by Hydra and they've seen this is the kind of terrible stuff people can do to you, or are they on Cap's side because they've been basically experimented
I feel like they
on?
would be on Tony's side.
Yeah.
That's my sense, is that if they joined up with the Avengers, they would then, I think they would be on the side of transparency at that point because they had been victims of such a secret operation. And
I want to ask you something. Has Scarlett Johansson been confirmed for Civil War?
Yeah.
That's where
you know
she
who
dies.
hasn't been, and I was digging around. I think Samuel Jackson, so far from what I've seen, and I could be wrong, I don't think he's in Civil War. Now, considering they faked his death in the third one, would they actually kill him off in Avengers 2?
At that point, it's just like Stop Crying Wolf.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I do
think he gets eaten by a wolf at the end of Avengers 2.
I think if not right then, we're leading to Cap dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about that a bunch of times. He could die
It's
at
in
the
the
end
comics.
of Civil War.
He's just gonna die. It's no big deal.
Winter Soldier's in Cap 3.
But I think if he doesn't die, or maybe even if he does, Black Widow's done after Cap 2 as well. I don't think she's coming back. And I mean, I'm not saying that just because I don't know anything. I'm just saying I think she's done. I think Scarlett is she's got a lot of projects lined up that we've seen, and
I mean, you haven't given her own solo movie. You destroyed S.H.I.E.L.D.
But I don't think she's going to, and I think it's because she's not going to be around. And I'm not saying that they don't want to do that movie. Maybe she didn't want to do that.
Well, maybe they want to just save some of the big deaths for let's say, we're just speculating.
This is total speculation on that.
Spitballing. Maybe they want to kill several Avengers off in Infinity War Part 1.
Yeah.
And that way Part 2 is all the more, this is your Infinity War Part 1 could almost end with your kind of like Empire thing of like, geez, we got no one left.
Everybody's
Basically, like
dead,
everyone's
yeah.
gone.
Or the Avengers has always been like, some of the members are just sometimes not in it. They're just like, dealing with their own stuff or, in
selfish.
space or
you
something.
don't
Like,
have to
dude, think of the
necessarily-
team first. There's no I in Team Falcon.
Yeah, you don't have to kill them in order to make room for the other Avengers. You can just introduce them and have a different roster for one or other event or event.
But I think there will be some finality with her. I think Hulk will be elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, it's weird because you think about an Avengers movie without the Hulk. It's like, does that work? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they need him in the Avengers.
Well, wouldn't you have to then put in another very superpowered character for those, holy crap moments that we're used to now with Avengers stuff? Like, the Hulk, you see, he's the star of so many of the trailers. Going back to the first movie, like just him jumping up in the air, taking out the Chitauri spacecraft and everything, and you're going to need some sort of I don't want to say a visual effect character, but somebody that can really bring that spectacle. And
yeah, but I think that we're getting so many different kinds of characters now that can do different things. I mean, once you bring in magic, that opens
magic
up.
is the bloodstream of the universe. Forget all you know.
Is that Willow?
Think you know. Yeah.
It is? Okay.
All you need is magic.
Are you Billy Barty now?
Yeah, I'm Billy Barty. That's my Billy Barty impression guy.
Yeah. Billy Barty, who people forget was also in Masters of the Universe. Who's a little Dobby the Elf looking guy from, he kind of looks like a cross between Dobby the Elf and Fat Albert's friend who wore that weird hat mask thing.
Wasn't he also in Under the Rainbow with Carrie Fisher?
I believe he was.
Oh, don't watch that movie. That's my unrecommendation
I'm not getting
of the
us
day.
out of this rabbit hole. It's up to you, bud.
Well, that's
better.
a sequel rabbit hole that we're not out of yet, because here's one more. A sequel I didn't think we would actually get is reportedly happening this fall. Tron 3.
Yeah.
I really did not think that would happen.
Well, it's going to reportedly film this fall in Vancouver. Joseph Kosinski, who directed Tron Legacy and Oblivion, said to be back to direct, or is attached to direct. And the only actor so far said to be returning is Garrett Hedlund. So no word on Jeff Bridges or Olivia Wilde. Two things then. Can you do a Tron movie without Jeff Bridges?
Yes.
And do we need Tron 3? I know we just asked last week, do we need a Blade Runner 2? But honestly, like...
Do you want it? Do you want it?
Okay, here's the thing. The Tron movies are boring. I'm sorry. I like them both visually, and there were things about both of them that I liked. But they're a bit of a slog.
Yeah.
All right?
Daft Punk.
Daft Punk was cool. It was a cooler party than it was a movie.
It was a great party.
But Comic-Con 2012 or whatever it was. But, okay, Tron 3, is it really just a visual? Tron is just a visual thing. Is there enough there?
The thing that bugs me out about Tron, bugs me out. Wow. My reference just went
bugging
2
out.
decades back.
We bugging out. I don't know.
Bugging with Tron is that what happened
with Tron,
is that
thanks for nudging,
like a couple of really hardcore Tron fans incepted an entire legion of people to believe that they were also really hardcore Tron fans. I'm sorry, but nobody was. Like, I feel like people were more attached.
There were a couple of
but
they were a cult. They were like a cult following.
But I feel like there were people
Man,
that
I mean,
were
they're
more
cult,
attached to The Last Starfighter than Tron, you know?
Yeah.
The idea that Tron was this beloved phenomenon that I bet you a lot that many of the people that were like, I'm so excited for Tron, had never even seen the first Tron, you know? It just became this weird phenomenon.
I do think there's something to that.
Yeah.
I honestly do.
In that, I think it really is more about brand awareness, I guess, which is Tron it's a catchy name. No, but it's a catchy name, and that look, that neon look and the light cycle, people know that stuff even if they've never seen the movies.
Yeah.
You know?
And having
and the disc throwing stuff. Like,
I'm not saying that there weren't people that did love the first Tron. And
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not
no,
saying
I
that there
certainly
weren't
know people who were,
legitimately
but yeah.
people who were excited
But
about
is there enough
Legacy.
to warrant a third movie? I mean, the second one, wasn't a resounding success, if I remember correctly. I could pull up some numbers.
I just think numbers-wise, I don't see how you justify it, really.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't seem to me to be like that it was so stunning a success that they'd be like, yeah, let's try this again.
I will say that I think
they're expensive too.
They're super expensive, but I will say that I enjoy that world in a very weird way, and I enjoyed Tron, I think, more than most people did Tron Legacy. But having confessed that, there's this one moment with Jeff Bridges in it that they're like, "Are we gonna still change?" He says to himself, "Are we still gonna change the universe?" And he goes, "Yeah."
I really, really, really disliked the effect on him.
Oh yeah, the de-aging.
Took me so far out of the movie when that showed up. I was like, I don't
It looked
know.
good in that one shot that they used in the trailer.
Yeah, I wanted to like
yeah.
I wanted to like that movie, and I love Jeff Bridges, and I wanted everything to be cool, and visually there were a lot of really cool elements to it, but like, it just really, I agree with Jim, a little boring.
It's a problematic movie, and I think that there were cool elements to it.
I think the original one's a little boring too, to be honest. Like,
yeah, it's long, I think. The original one is long, and I think if they had like kind of cut the story down.
It's also very quiet, which is which is weird. You look back at a lot of the older genre movies, and there are these long moments of quiet. And I don't know if it was like the influence of, say, something like 2001.
I think effects are expensive, and you have to pad out a movie's runtime. Yeah. I think that's what it really is. It's like, let's have some dialogue. Let's have a long shot of this.
What do you also do in this third movie? I mean, what is it that's going to make it more appealing and to a broad audience?
It's just one long EDM concert, and they're just going to show it, and everybody takes Molly, and then it's like...
Okay, then yes.
That's what...
Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man will somehow find a way to end up in the Tron universe. I mean, it is owned by Disney, so maybe... What if they do somehow find a Marvel into Tron, you know?
Maybe in Disney Infinity.
They get ROM in Tron, and yeah. That'd be great.
I'm just surprised. Like it's always amazing to me. I just don't know how they got this green light. You know, in terms of like if it's. I'm just talking about financially. Like.
Well, I think Disney has a lot of money to burn, to be honest, and that if they do get this world right and they do succeed in creating this thing and like really, really getting people stoked on it. Like, it ties into a lot of different things. You can put it in your theme park. You can put it in various video games. You can do this and that. And I think, like, they see the world as valuable as we do, but, like, the story hasn't been there to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not, like, I can't say I'm, like, super excited about that news. But.
Well, we want to know what you guys think of this slate of sequels that we've mentioned. There's Frozen 2, Zoolander 2, Tron 3, Toy Story 4, Captain America, Civil War. Let us know in the comments which one you're excited for, what your concerns are about some of them, and do we even need some of these? So let us know in the comments. I want to move on to a couple of DC projects. A pair of rumors this week, both from Latino Review. One, and even they were, like, this is very unfounded. So, but they were like, this is what's being said in the grapevine. So, couching it as they did. Chris Pine is the name that is said to be being bandied about for Hal Jordan Green Lantern.
I love the phrase bandied about.
Bandied about.
Bandy it
It's not
about.
used enough.
It isn't.
Let's bandy it around town.
You know what other word isn't used enough? Coxswain. I'm just throwing that out there. Oh, that's the one that brings the show to a halt. Fine. Whatever. Chris Pine, Green Lantern. What the? That's my butter.
On your coxswain?
What do you think?
Oh, snap.
What do you think about Chris Pine as Green Lantern?
He's fine. Yeah, I mean.
Do we need Hal Jordan?
Enthusiastic.
I don't.
Jon Stewart.
I would like to see Jon Stewart. Actually, I really would, because I think that. And I think they should do that too. Like, honestly, I think they should divorce themselves as much as possible.
Hal Jordan kind of damaged goods at this point.
I mean, it could work if they did it well, for sure. Yeah. But like, why do it? You
I like Chris Pine a lot, actually. I mean, as an actor, I'm just saying I like Chris Pine. And I don't see why it couldn't work if the movie was good.
How many damaged franchises or franchises that were basically he's getting sloppy seconds. You got Star Trek, that was a good one, well, 1.5. And then Jack Ryan, and now you want to get Green Lantern.
Yeah, but I agree. I mean, look, if they are, this is what I'm saying. If they are going in that direction, I have nothing against Chris Pine doing it.
Oh yeah, I think he'd be fine.
If they are going to say Hal Jordan, yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
I think it's a fine pick.
Why not go in that direction?
Yeah. Please don't go in that direction.
You know,
Yeah.
be interesting, and why not?
I think
Shake it up.
I do wonder if they're like, look, we're looking at the poster and we're looking at the different demos that it could appeal to, and or maybe we need a little bit more humor, and he's known for being kind of quippy. I don't know. Maybe they're looking at just because think about it, you have a pretty grim group of people so far, with the exception of Affleck. Henry Cavill, not exactly Mr. Laugh-A-Minute. Gal Gadot seems pretty serious, or at least the way they're showing Wonder Woman, she's just looking fierce.
Tough to say yet.
Jason Momoa, not exactly a back-slapping kind of guy, unless he's slapping in the back with an axe.
He's my moon in the stars.
Ezra Miller looks pretty dour,
But
maybe they're
just
we need
could
somebody
have
who can
humor.
smile.
I don't know. Ezra Miller could. Jason Momoa has a great sense of humor. I don't know why I pointed at that screen. Like he was going to
back
be
there. Pixelated IGN logo, Jason
right
Momoa.
Jason Momoa. He's always with me. He actually has a great sense of humor.
He's your spirit animal. It's Jason Momoa.
Spirit animal is Jason Momoa. It's called Drogo. He has a great sense of humor in reality, and so I don't see why he couldn't bring that in a little bit. To Aquaman, why not? But they're not making funny movies. I mean, they've said they're not making funny movies.
Yeah.
That's not with this particular batch.
We don't want them to be funny at all.
humor.
We would rather you didn't enjoy yourself. Just get bludgeoned in the face.
We'll see how if there's a more sort of balanced tone.
But
moving forward.
I did not. I know you guys have differing opinions of this, but I did not have a problem with the tone of Man of Steel. I thought it was fine.
I liked Man of Steel a lot, but my only thing, and it wasn't really tone, it was Henry Cavill, was that I wanted more moments of kind of humanity from him and stop brooding so much. My favorite moment of his is when he's like, "It's not an S," and he cracks a little smile. Yeah. That to me was more Superman. I wanted to see a little bit.
I like that he was drinking beer. I'll tell you that much.
I mean,
although it wouldn't make a dent in him.
Yeah, I know. He would have to drink so much
he
beer.
likes the taste.
Yeah.
I love the taste. You can't blame
It's like O'Doul's to him.
To me, like still the moment from the trailer, I think was
O'Doul's.
I give up.
I'm sorry.
O'Doul's butter.
O'Doul's
to me, the moment in the trailer that got me was oh man, what is wrong with me? Kevin Costner, his dad.
Yeah.
And that still to me. And that still to me is like the best moment in the movie, and it's because it's so human,
Yeah.
It's so like loving, and but there wasn't a ton of that in the rest of the movie. I don't. By the way, I'm not hating on the movie. I don't hate it. At all.
I mean, I think
like
the criticism from a lot of people was like it needed more levity. It needed something to balance all this heaviness, and I didn't feel that necessarily. So that, I mean, if the tone is that and they're just sticking with the serious, I'm fine with it if they continue to do that. I don't need it to be Laugh-A-Minute. I think Marvel seeks out to do a little bit lighter, moments of levity, even in
almost
Cap.
80s style action comedies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even in Winter Soldier, which was much darker, there was a lot of humor in that in the quieter moments.
Speaking of humor in DC movies, little Suicide Squad segue. According to rumors, Jared Leto's Joker will be both more comedic and more cerebral. Cerebral and comedic than past incarnations of the Joker, including Ledger and Nicholson. So, what do we think of that?
More comedic than Nicholson?
That's what I mean.
I honestly think that the Ledger.
I thought Nicholson's was pretty wackety schmackety.
Yeah, it's super wacky.
Wackety schmackety.
Well, it was. I mean, he was dancing around to Prince music.
He pulled a giant gun out of his pants.
Yeah, he was. I mean,
he was excited about that too.
I think they really mean Ledger, and they don't want to just say Ledger.
Yeah.
Because Ledger was the embodiment of unbidden evil and anarchy. He wasn't
scary.
He was really scary. So maybe they're saying it's not going to be Ledger, but they don't want to just say that.
He was like Ledger's portrayal, and really how it's written too was this pure chaotic id.
Yeah.
Almost.
He was like a. he was like an archetype more than a.
He wasn't cerebral.
More like Mark Hamill's than Joker from the animated series.
Yeah.
You know, where it'll be more kind of like, this malevolent glee and things,
And honestly, they have to do something different. They can't go back to, cheap version of what, not even cheap, but like version of what Heath Ledger did. If they do that, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. No, but I think you're right. Like, in order to be, they have to distinguish him from that portrayal.
And, honestly, Joker comes in so many forms in the comics even, and a lot of them are right. Even though it's it's the same character, a lot of those portrayals are just somebody's interpretation. And
even
right.
Cesar Romero's Joker was a valid Joker for the time.
The Joker, Cesar Romero would totally makes me laugh about him is the mustache.
We were joking in the office before Leto shaved his beard. We were hoping they would do that. They would just cover his beard with like white makeup and try and pretend like what? He's clean shaven.
His face goes down
nothing
to
see here. I feel like that we've just debunked the whole no humor thing then, right? Because apparently we're gonna have some humor.
But Suicide Squad. Also, one more thing I'm going to throw out there is that the main villain, is said to be this guy Antifon. I'm probably getting his name wrong. Who is the leader of essentially a terrorist cell called Onslaught, and they're in the comics. And they're targeting, I guess, superheroes and supervillains for their own agenda. So the Suicide Squad are basically tapped to go after these guys. So not sure why they're doing what they're doing, but who knows? It's probably something Lex Luthor did. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But anyhow, moving on from Suicide Squad. All right. Let's talk about this week. This opening up this weekend, and just last weekend though, Chappie, 13.3 million, pretty lukewarm, but it was enough to top a lukewarm weekend at the box office.
Not a great box office
but
weekend.
Even more so, Unfinished Business, Vince Vaughn, his biggest, worst opening ever of 10th place with 4.8 million.
Wow, and we were talking about it maybe at 4th place or something like that. 10th place.
I mean, that is just an absolute turd, dead on arrival. What do you think this means for Vince?
Nothing. He's going to True Detective.
Right, but do you think True Detective can actually give him the bump that he needs?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think in fact it's going to probably like send him in a different direction for his career.
Yeah.
As long as he's good in it.
True, but I don't think we'll see a lot more movies like this out of him because he won't have a reason to do them if he proves himself in True Detective.
Yeah.
And I think he can. I think he's a fine actor.
I mean, I think that the days where TV was a step down for actors is so far gone. Where it is so often a step up
15
in
years
terms of
gone.
quality.
Yeah.
And can give a huge boost to their career.
Yeah.
For revitalize their careers if it's a great show and it takes off and it's a good performance. So. Good for him, True Detective.
All right. Well, opening up this weekend is Cinderella, which is tracking in the high 60s, and then globally over 100 million.
Yeah.
I think they're looking at basically like another Maleficent, essentially, which got me thinking. Now, you're the only one that's seen Cinderella. Before we go down this path, actually tell the folks, you gave it a thumbs up.
I did give it a thumbs up. It's very traditional, very straightforward. This is not the reinvention story of Cinderella.
This isn't Dark Cinderella.
This isn't Dark Cinderella. This isn't reinventing the wheel. If you don't want to watch a sweet Disney princess movie, you will not like this movie, because that is exactly what it is, just as it's very, very close to the animated classic movie. But Branagh does manage to...
And we should say that it is a live-action retelling of the Disney animated movie.
Exactly. Well, it's not. It is.
It's Disney's.
Yeah, it's Disney's.
So,
it's Cinderella, and Kenneth Branagh, who directed the movie, does manage to find a way to bring in elements that are interesting, and I didn't think that was possible. I really didn't, because I was like, it's Cinderella.
I mean, it's getting very good reviews. Like, it's actually got good buzz, which is, I think, it's made me interested in seeing it. That and the fact that Frozen Fever is attached to the front of it. I want to see that too.
But again, I mean, I would caution not to expect, brand new thing. If you were going to see the classic telling of Cinderella, he just did it really well.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like when you're looking at something like that, the goal was to tell the classic tale, the Disney version of this story.
Yeah.
And it is very much that.
It's not Snow White and the Huntsman. It's not Cinderella in battle armor.
No.
I don't say this about everything, but I actually, it's almost at this point refreshing to just see a story retold in the way that you are expecting it to be retold, rather than get like some little dark twist on it or something like that. It's kind of like, it's almost like a renegade move at this point to do that.
It really is. It's
which
like
is weird.
It's like the new. It's like the new. You know, retelling the new.
Oh, I didn't know we could do this.
This is crazy. You just told the story exactly how it is.
Which is
I
weird
don't
because just a
understand.
couple of months ago we had Into the Woods.
Yeah,
which did
which
do
is-
a whole twist in that and was a big hit and had Cinderella and it's Disney.
Yeah,
Right.
I will say this. I mean, Cinderella. You know, I have nothing against it, but Cinderella was not my favorite fairy tale. You know, so to me, I was like, God, there's really not a lot to this. But it was so well told, and there's only, you know, that's a really tough character because she's so good all the time, and it's balanced out with Kate Blanchett and sort of these other elements that fill out the world and make it more interesting. Lily James, who plays Cinderella, does a really solid job of making us buy that. There are one or two moments that I was like, where the stepsisters and the stepmother are being really mean to her, that I was like, get a backbone!
Or just a bat.
You know?
Just get a bat.
Just get a bat.
There are gonna
Something!
be some beatings.
But other than that, like, it's just really well done.
Well, I want to talk about the fact that, you know, we mentioned Maleficent. That, you know, Disney now for, going back actually to the 90s, they started what they did, Jungle Book, the Stephen Sommers one with I think it was Jason Scott Lee and Carrie Elwes, right? So that was a live action retelling or live action adaptation of something that they had already done as a cartoon. Then they did 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close and Ewan Griffith. People forget he was in that.
Oh, yeah.
But now they're really gone hell's bells on doing live action adaptations.
I love your
bells.
phrases today. It's Hell's bells on
Going hell's bells.
Hell's bells on Disney princesses.
I'm so old. so they're doing, you know, they have a whole slate now of live action adaptations of their old stuff. And I think, you know, it started with Alice in Wonderland. And for you know, really in earnest, Alice in Wonderland, $1 billion grossing movie,
Yeah.
huge hit. They already have a sequel to that that they've shot. But now we've had Alice in Wonderland, Maleficent, Cinderella. They're about to start production on Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson as Belle and Luke Evans as Gaston,
So amazing.
Dan Stevens as Beast, and Emma Thompson as is it Mrs. Potts?
Yeah.
Spots.
So
Perfect.
I
and Bill
love it.
Condon is directing that, you
Perfect.
know. So you know, it just got me thinking about the sort of the live action Disney going back to that well. How many years until you think we're going to get a live action Frozen? She's already popped up.
I was just thinking
Elsa's
this-
already popped up on Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. They both? Elsa
Yeah.
and Anna.
I think within 5 years we get live
Yeah.
action Frozen
Yeah.
retelling of the Disney
Yeah.
story and just the live action realm.
Well,
They
we've
just know what they're doing, guys. They just
I know.
make so much
well,
money.
here's the thing: like they've got several other ones in the works too. They're doing a Cruella movie, which I guess they want to do for 101 Dalmatians, what Maleficent did for Sleeping Beauty, and then the Jungle Book. Jon Favreau is directing that, and that's got a great cast in it as well. I know a lot more about that movie than I'm allowed to say right now, but in the months ahead, I'll be able to tell you more. And then this week, this is interesting bit of news. Tim Burton directing
This is the
live
one.
action Dumbo.
What, you like that?
It's so crazy.
I don't know if I like that.
No, but
You
wait,
might even say it's banana pants.
It's
There's a Roth
banana
expression.
pants. It really is. It's like banana pants on
Banana
fire.
pants.
It's so,
So-
weird. No, I'm not saying
another
I'm
level.
not saying that that will be good.
But what are the Vegas odds that Johnny Depp is going to mocap as Dumbo?
Oh, 900%.
Yeah, it's-
9 million% affirmative. Yes. No, I'm not saying that's going to be good because I'm not a huge. I didn't laugh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should say that it's going to be a CGI live action hybrid movie.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it is they are not holding back.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that particular project because I like Dumbo's fine, but it's not like in my top Disney movies. It's like what
It makes
Dumbo.
me well up.
Dumbo, it's himself is really cute and like the story is cute, but it's kind of like it spends a lot of weird
sad stuff
time
in
with
Dumbo.
yeah, absolutely.
Mommy.
Yeah, like
absolutely.
Dumbo's a little bit of a heartbreaker. I just wasn't I wasn't super taken with Alice in Wonderland.
No, I disliked that intensely.
Oh, God, I hated
intensely did not like Alice in Wonderland, though many people did pay for it. So it
They did intensely like it too.
and did intensely like it.
folks.
So I would not be excited about Dumbo just because I didn't like what Alice in Wonderland. In fact, was my favorite fairy tale, and I had an argument about whether that counts as a fairy tale. It does.
Well, we're not going to argue it further. It's been explored. I'm excited about Beauty and the Beast. Like that is
I
hands
think
down
that's
the one
pretty
that I want to see.
interesting. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great cast.
They did it well.
So much talent behind that.
Yeah.
And it's a great story. I love Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
When are we getting The Little Mermaid?
Tale as old as time.
Well, Sofia Coppola, and this was, they've actually, they've had all these. You're still laughing at him bursting a song. It's the beard when he sings with the beard.
I was just picturing the butter dancing
like one of
with
the
Chip. I was picturing like a stick of butter dancing with Chip and Mrs. Potts. Tale as old as time. That's my butter. That's my butter.
It's true.
Sorry.
What the hell was I saying?
What's even going on?
No, I think. God, screw it. I can't remember.
We're done.
If we had a live action Little Mermaid, would you be more excited about that than?
Yeah. Well, I would. Jim would not. So
Nah.
we'll save that for a different time. We'll discuss that later.
I think Sofia Coppola was supposed to do one at a separate company. It wouldn't have been a Disney one. A lot of, the thing is, a lot of other studios, because these are public domain, are doing basically live action versions of things that Disney had already done as animated classics.
Right.
So that's why we have so many Peter Pan movies in the world. Like there's Hook is coming up, not Hook, Pan is coming up with Hugh Jackman and then there's a rival Jungle Book movie that just started filming this week. Andy Serkis is making.
That's honestly I feel like I really want to see Andy Serkis's version.
I want to see them. I want to see them both to a degree, but like you just know the Disney one is like gonna bring
so
it.
fun to
Well,
watch.
it's already got like a year jump on it.
Yeah.
So
Simple bare necessities.
Well, Bill Murray as the voice of Baloo and John Favreau's. So.
But it's not a music. We're not going to get the music.
No, there's not going to be really songs, but no. All right, so real quick then, Beauty and the Beast for you.
Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast.
I'm gonna go Dumbo.
I'm gonna go Jungle Book. Actually,
Jungle Book.
I'm curious about
Beauty
it.
and the Beast.
Although Beauty and the Beast, I'm still fond of it. So, but let us know which of these live action adaptations you guys are most looking forward to. And that's all the time we have this week on Keeping It Real. Give us a shout out
your butter.
on that's. Give us a shout out on iTunes. Oh
Recommendations.
wait, yeah.
We always forget the
We
recommendations.
always forget the recommendations. Yes. All right. So because we're just actually talking about Beauty and the Beast, Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast, 1946, gorgeous looking movie, and really well done, and pretty faithful to the actual fairy tale, and no music, but it's great.
You've probably seen some, if not all three of these, but I'm going to give you a little homework. Since we were talking about Star Wars, to watch Rian Johnson's films, all three of them. Brick, the Brothers Bloom, and Looper. Looper is a sci-fi time travel movie. Awesome. Came out 2 years ago.
So good.
2 years ago, last year. The Brothers Bloom is the one that most people have problems with. I do not. I unabashedly love that movie. It is an awesome, awesome con movie. If you like con movies like I do, watch The Brothers Bloom.
I am going to mention The Awakening, which I think I've talked about maybe once before.
Rebecca Hall, right?
It's Rebecca Hall's movie set in this boarding school in England. It's one of those movies where it had been such a long, long time since I'd seen a good horror movie. And I watch anything horror pretty much. I'll even watch the most low-budget thing ever. And it was like, should we watch this? It's not going to be good. And then it was really good. It was good in the way that The Others was good. You know, it has that sort of period feel, and, it's kind of got ghosty elements and stuff like that, and it just was really like well done, solid movie, solid horror movie. And even if you know like whatever, you know, going into it, it still, you know, plays all the right notes. I knew the stuff, I knew what the outcome of the movie was, but it's still very, very good. That's my pick for this week.
Awesome. If you guys have recommendations for movies you think we should see, let us know in the comments. Give us a shout out on iTunes. Send us your thoughts at keepinitreal@ign.com. Follow us on Twitter at Chris Carl, at Roth Cornett, at StacksIGN. And for all things movies, keep it here on IGN. Thanks for watching and listening.
If I were
Super far
fighting
away from
Cumberbatch,
me.
I'd take that first punch and then I'd get on a body and work it. I would freaking.
You just have to be right on them. Don't let them.
Or just tie him up around the middle
This is
and just kidney punch his ass.
Our MMA skills are.
That's how I'd fight Cumberbatch.
That's how I would fight him. I would
No,
fight, like,
Danny DeVito. That would be a
That's
challenge.
a whole
And this
other
is how we
challenge,
run
because
out
then
of
he could
time
just
at the
get
end of the
Yeah, you're right.
podcast. So.